YouTube? Michael Double X the Beast here. Gonna do my reveal of my spreadsheet that I built to track the points from this 180 card CGC order. And if you haven't watched the preview video, if you will, where I kind of predicted my grades and showed how the spreadsheet worked, you can check that out. And I'll do a brief explanation of it when I switch over to the spreadsheet here in a minute. But essentially, I got all my grades back. I've done the reveal videos to show the physical cards themselves. And this video is a pretty quick run through of how well I did, basically on the scoring of this scoring system. And I've already entered in all the data in, so that's all ready to go. And estimated grades, I've had those in there for probably about a month now, almost to the day, a little bit over a month. So they've been in there, and I'm going to flip it over here and show the spreadsheet, and we'll run through this real quick, and let me know in the comments how you think I did, or if you like this scoring system, or if you think it's the dumbest thing ever. I'm fine hearing that too. Just a second here. Let me share, and we will run through this. Okay. So this is this spreadsheet, and I've got this filtered just by the newest cards at the top. So it's going in the order of the year of the cards from newest to oldest. And here's the grading scale here. Exact grade is 5 points, 0.5 away is 1 point. And if it's one or more away, it takes away 5 points. So you can see the formula here. This has all this information in it. So estimated grade goes right here, and the difference, and then the actual, and then the difference gets calculated here, and then the points associated with it. Everything in green here, I probably should use a different color so it didn't match this, but everything in green here is cards that I estimated lower than they actually came back. So you'll see a common theme. I was much tougher on the cards than CGC was, particularly with centering, the grading of the center. I was really tough on those. And some of you guys know this, but some of you don't. But I work in the data space, so I look at data a lot and deal with data, not in any application to do with cards in the energy industry. So typically with data, what you're wanting to do is there's three things you normally use data for. Number one, you want to archive it just so you have a place where it's saved, which this checks that box. Number two is you want to have data in the now. So you want to record exactly what you're doing right now and be able to make changes on the fly. And number three, which is the most important typically, you want to see data that's usable and consumable so that you can make decisions about the future. And that's usually the most important thing, so that you can make changes to the way you're doing something in whatever action you're trying to achieve. So with the example here, I want to record it, which I've got all the data here. I wanted to be able to look at it in the now, which is great. Number three, my next submission, based on what I've already seen so far and what I went through here, I'm not going to be as tough on centering. I'm going to be a little bit less tough on the centering, but I don't want to overcorrect. So maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe if I thought the card was going to be an 8.5 because of centering, maybe I just go to a 9. CGC may still say it's a 9.5. I don't know, but it just gives me a baseline of kind of where to work from. So I'm going to scroll through these. These are the same cards I showed on my 3 videos, physically showing the cards. It's the same cards I obviously had in here in my estimated. And I'm going to scroll through these. Like I said, you see lots of green. I was really tough on the cards, and it shows. So down here at the bottom, if you haven't watched my other video, that's okay. It's perfect score was going to be 900 points. So if I got every card perfectly correct, it would have been a plus 900. If I got every card wrong, it would have been by one or more, it would have been a negative 900. So I actually scored a 258. I actually got 72 of the 180 where I predicted the exact grade. And then I had another 73 where I was zero point 0.5 away. So in my mind, that's 145 positive outcomes out of 180. That's pretty good to me. Um, you know, that's why I'm looking at measuring that so that next time I can see if that number can go up as a percentage. I don't know if I'll send in 180 cards again, but if I send in 20, 30 cards, then that would have been you hope to maybe score 90% or something like that. But still, it wasn't bad at all, I didn't think. And one of the things, I'm gonna scroll over just a little bit here so we can see this. It's not one to center it, but that's okay. One of the most important things I kind of found out by doing this, something that I wasn't really going to pay much attention to, is this average difference in grades. And this is individual card lines. So looking at on the individual card lines, this is 0.43. So, for example, this one here, where I thought it was a 9.5, it comes back a 10. That's a 0.5 average on that one line. But over the course of all 180 lines, 0.43. That to me, that I feel good about that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do more of these to try to see. And then this number here is not as important because this is measuring the total sum of the grades. But I predicted 1,646 total points, if you will, total of all the sum of all the grades, estimated grades, and it actually came back 1681. Obviously, exactly what I was showing earlier. It tells me that I was more difficult because I came back with more total points. And this is the average difference, in these numbers. That number, that's probably not as important if you're looking at predictions and things on an individual line basis, but I wanted to show it. And then on the flip side right here, I had 35 cards out of the submission that were one or more away, which is 19.4%. That's a number, obviously, that's you take, these two numbers here, the exact grade plus the 0.5 away, and that's just the difference that's left over after those. So that's the number right there that you want to see reduce, obviously, right? You'd like to probably see this maybe 10% or under. So that's a number that I'm going to look to improve moving forward. And right here you can see, I was 78 times. I predicted the card to be higher, lower than it came in higher, and then 30 times that I predicted higher and it actually came in lower. So, when I mentioned earlier, I don't want to overcorrect on the centering and go too crazy, but I could have seen where maybe this number could have been 50, and this number could have been 50 to 58, somewhere in that range. By taking some of these away, probably would have been closer. I don't know, but this is, like I said, this is just the baseline to see moving forward. And this is also where I struggled to kind of calculate what is a usable data point. Obviously, the points is important, but the points is going to change based on how many cards you send in. So I was trying to figure out a way I could measure if that would be the same across any number of cards you send in. And so this is kind of what I came up with. This is probably going to have to change a little bit, but we'll run through it just as a trial run here. So percentage of total points possible is what this is. So this is this number divided by 900 gets me 28.67%. Percentage of positive predictions. So this was over here where I mentioned the exact plus the 0.5 away, gets me right there. And then I subtract away for the negative numbers, which is down here where I was one or more away. And this is where I tried to figure how I put into a numerical value of what this is. And if you've ever worked a job or anything like that where it has some type of multiplier, if you meet a certain goal, um, you get a bonus. So that's what I was trying to go with this number. So basically, if it came in between zero point 0.5 and 0.26 difference, I would get a plus 2.5% here. If it came in under 0.25 right here, then I would get a 5% bonus. And I'll put a formula in also. I don't have it in here right now, but I'll put one in where if this comes in over a zero point 0.5 right here away, it subtracts 5%. It's probably what I'll do. And when you add all that up, it gets a 92.28%, which I've got a formula in here which is good for an A minus. If you took away this 2.5% right here, obviously it puts it in the high 80s, and this would be a B plus. So B plus, A minus, somewhere in that range is kind of what I would consider this order overall. And that's kind of what my gut told me when I first read the grades. I was like, okay, I've scored a lot higher on a lot of cards. This was just me reading through the the email you get. I was reading through it and I was like, okay, I scored a lot higher on a lot of these, so I feel good about it. But that's also inaccuracy, because I wasn't getting them exactly the same. Now I'd rather miss obviously on the high side, with the grade coming in higher than I thought than lower. But it still, was a little bit inaccurate. But when I put all these numbers into this here, essentially that's what I came up with. So I'm going to try it moving forward, see how it works on more subs. Just keep doing it, keep dumping data in, and seeing over the course of maybe 500 cards, 600 cards, do you improve? That's really the goal of this. How close can I get to their standards? Being consistent with measuring this. That's what I'm looking at doing. So that's all I want to show right here on that immediately. But I did have one other thing I was going to show that's kind of related. And this is cards. I just have it regrade tracker. And these are cards that I cracked out and sent in raw. And just so I can kind of see as a comparison over time, how many cards will cross over at the same, from a PSA 9, will it cross over as a CGC 9? Will it be higher? And you can see the ones in yellow are the ones that came back exactly the same. So only 3 out of these 12 came back exactly the same. SGC, this one, it dropped from a 10 down to a 9.5. This one here went from a 9 to a 9.5. So based on only 2 cards, which is a small data point, it's going to be about the same, somewhere around the same, right, within 0.5. PSA, this one went straight across, this one went straight across, this one went straight across. So there's all 3 of the ones that were even were PSA, 9s and became CGC 9s. These ones in green here are cards that obviously it went up, like I mentioned with the SGC, but then with PSA, this PSA 8 right here went from an 8 to a 9. And there were 2 cards that I was able to wipe off very distinct fingerprints, which is another advantage of cracking one out and sending it in raw. You're able to do that. The 2 of them that I was able to do that with were actually this peacock here. This one had a really bad thumbprint near the top, kind of right in the middle. I wiped the thumbprint off, sent it in, it went up by 0.5, which is not a surprise, really. And the other one was one of these 2 autos, and I went back and compared the autos. I believe this 10 is the one that has the bigger auto, and this was the one that had a fingerprint on it. Pretty bad right on the front. So, does that affect it? Of course, it helps the grade go up. But, this is a full 1-point bump from a PSA 9 up to a CGC 10, which is good. This one here, this PSA 9 goes to a 9.5. PSA doesn't have a 9.5 grade, so those you have to just kind of weigh with your gut feel to see, does it go down and stay at a 9 if it crosses over, or does it go to a 9.5, or can it jump up to a 10 in this one situation? So there's some feel there you have to it. This one here went from an eight to a 9, so it jumped up. And this one here, this sapphire purple, it went from a 9 to a 9.5. Most of these, like I said, I didn't notice anything other than I took them, cracked them out, wiped them off with a microfiber, put them in a soft sleeve and a semi-rigid and sent them in. That's all I did. And then probably most notably, these ones that dropped, these ones in red. So this red refractor went from a PSA 9 down to a CGC 8.5. This Black Velocity 101 went from an 8, PSA 8, to a CGC 7.5. It has really bad centering. It's like I said, an 8, PSA 8, CGC 7.5. Who really cares? On a 1 of 1, I just want it slab. But anyways, I did want to show that because I'm going to keep adding. I'm just going to add to this spreadsheet over time and then make it where I can filter the data to try to get an idea of how they'll cross over, 20, 30, 40, 50 cards. You should have a pretty good idea of how they're going to cross when you go to buy one on eBay or whatever, and then have an idea of where it's going to be when you send it in. But anyways, one more shot of this there. This tracker. I want to build more of a scorecard. I just did it at the bottom of the spreadsheet, but I'll probably add a separate tab to bring in all this data, cumulatively, because I'll probably add a tab for every sub I do, because these points will change. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. But in a nutshell, this is the first run at a scorecard, and thanks for watching, and give me some feedback in the comments, and hope you enjoy your night.